Welcome to Private Banking Strategies Podcast with Vance, Lowe, and Seth Hicks, your secret weapon to protect your assets and never have to start over financially again. Vance and Seth help high net worth individuals, families, business owners, and investors structure an asset-protected, tax-free fortress for their families. Learn how to keep what you earn and use the velocity of money to create your own private banking system. Join us on this journey as we explore the secret strategies of the rich and political elite and help you take total control of your financial security. Now, on to the show.
Hello and welcome to Private Banking Strategies with Vance, Lowe, and Seth Hicks. Vance, how are you?
I'm doing great today, Seth. I'm really looking forward to this next podcast. I think we got some good ideas.
Me too. This is an absolute cornerstone foundation to operating your private banking systems. And it's probably one of the most fundamental concepts that people need to get and disciplines that they need to implement to be successful.
I would really agree.
So folks, we're going to give you some key insights. I would say this is probably the number one disciplined banking strategy that you have to implement to be successful with private banking strategies. And we see it all the time with successful clients. They operate what we're going to teach you in this podcast. And folks that are still wandering, so to speak, don't implement these type of disciplines. So we want you to stick around for the entire podcast. At the end, we're going to be giving you some golden nuggets and dropping some free gifts to you. So stick around to the end. You won't regret it. Vance, pick it up from there.
Well, guys, I think this is a unique opportunity, and this is the first time we're getting into a very ultra deep level here. So everyone knows this topic. Everyone, at least our clients, those of you who are just tuning in for the first time, we have a resource book that we use. The father of the infinite banking concept, R. Nelson Nash, Becoming Your Own Banker. We advise people to get that book and read it and interpret it correctly. And that's what this is about today, is just one little item here in the book, but teaching people how to interpret it correctly. I've noticed because of life experiences, Seth, that people listen, they hear, but the meaning to them is different. We can only progress and get to the finer points when we have the correct interpretation or the correct understanding of things. So we're going to try to do that today. There is a grocery store story in his book, and it's been used for multiple years. And we're going to dissect this a little bit, and this may be a three-part series for us to get completely through it. So this first part is really setting everything up for us to get in the proper learning mode so that we can internalize what is really being meant in 2 full pages, because it means everything in the private banking strategy, how we set things up, how we operate, how we roll. So maybe you make a couple more comments on that, on what people can expect, and then let's get right into it.
Sure. So we have to think of ourselves in this context that we're going to lay out as both a consumer and a seller, and have some type of captive customer, so to speak. Nelson Nash describes it as a grocery store, right? The grocery store paradigm and analysis, because everybody consumes groceries, everybody needs to eat, and you have captive customers in the sense that you and your family have to eat. And I guess in a sense, Vance, you've got the people that are around that grocery store that also have to use that grocery store that come into there. You've got a captive consumer-based audience, and you're also want to conceptualize you as the owner of the grocery store. That's really the foundation of this. And the context for utilizing that paradigm and this example is for your own banking system, using your own banking assets, and which is your money, in a way where you treat it like a grocery store. And so we're going to ask some questions of folks that probably they'll answer wrongly initially as they're listening and walk them through that. But this is a very important exercise. It may seem a little bit redundant to some that are exercising it, but to most, like we said, this is like the critical step for people to be successful. There was a movie, kind of a little bit of a rabbit trail or sidebar, The Karate Kid. Did you ever see that movie, Vance, The
Oh,
Karate
yeah.
Kid? Okay, so the kid goes to Miyagi, and Master Miyagi has him painting the fence, with these motions up and down, and waxing the car like this. And he's waxing cars and painting fences, and he thinks he's being taken advantage of. But that discipline and those movements ultimately were ingrained in him in such a way that he was able to do them without thinking. And it's the same thing with your banking. You need to be able to put these disciplines that we're going to teach you about today into practice without thinking and make them a habit and make the whole context of how you implement the strategies just a automatic. And if you do that, you will be very successful. And it's the difference between a lot of wealth and little or no wealth. Would you say so?
I think it really is. It gets into the subconscious level. Muscle memory is said in sports and all kinds of other things, but we live and move because of muscle memory. We don't even think about it. Our minds can only think about one thing at a time, but our subconscious, what is it? 40 to 50,000 calculations per second. They still haven't the limit of what the human brain does. We can walk on 2 feet, we can chew gum, and we can use hands to open doors, and we don't even know we're doing it. So some of that is going to apply here. In the grocery store story, when everybody thinks about a grocery store, what do you think about the grocery store? It's the place you go and get food. But what is a wish when we go to a grocery store? A lot of people think, hey, man, if I owned this grocery store, I could have all the food I want and I could get it for a much cheaper cost because I'm the owner. That's almost a given scenario when people really don't understand what goes into a business, especially the grocery store. And this is such a perfect example. In Nelson Nash's book, he starts off with the idea of a grocery store and the mechanics it's going to take to set up a grocery store. And it's very involved and very, very detailed. When people hear about the private banking strategy, because it's brand new, they're thinking, oh, this is maybe complex. This is something that might be complicated. I'm not quite getting it. I haven't quite done it yet. When in fact, everything in the private banking strategy we are familiar with. We've just never practiced it this way. So he's putting in the grocery store that it is a organized discipline. Okay, so if you'll think of it that way, put it in your life that you now are the grocery store owner. How are you going to run it? How are you going to work it? How are you going to do it? That brings in, Seth, the pandemic. It's the first time in my life I can remember going to a Walmart or a grocery store and seeing empty shelves. But I looked at that and that was not comforting. Number one, I knew it was because of the pandemic. But if you went into a grocery store and there were empty shelves, we probably wouldn't go back there. They're not doing well enough to keep them stocked. So there's all kinds of secrets on how to display and keep your shelves stocked. That means you have to have a back storeroom and it has to be full at all times. And you have to keep bringing out merchandise to fill up those lanes, those aisles, and all the shelves there so that it looks productive and profitable and people can pick and choose kind of what they want to do. So the other thing is, if you set it up right, you can literally make a good living from the back door to the front door because the food and all the merchandise comes in through the back, through the warehouse or where everything else. Inventoried, it comes in, put out on the shelves, sold at the registers, and then walks out the front door. It's when that system is circumvented that there is a problem. So, Seth, let's talk a minute about who should shop at our grocery store.
Well, we should shop at our own grocery store. All of our family members should shop at our own grocery store. If we have created a good business based on its location, its presentation, low prices, and good value so that we're competitive in the market and we make it easier to get to, all of the people that live in proximity to that grocery store should use. And it begs the first fundamental question of how do you treat your own inventory, right? I mean, we said we were going to ask a few questions. If I'm the grocery store owner or you're the grocery store owner and our wife comes, to the grocery store, she comes through the back door because you own it. And she comes in and she starts to load up the grocery store basket with all the food that she needs. And this is the question that we ask folks. So should she go back out the back door and load up the truck? Or should she go to the front register and pay for the groceries just like everybody else, retail price, and then load up the truck? And it's an answer that people typically get wrong. And it's not intuitive necessarily because of what you said in your opening remarks is it's your business. Why should you pay full price? And it made me think of someone who may be the richest person in the world, Elon Musk, and who owns Tesla. I've heard of it said of him that he pays for his own cars. If he drives a Tesla full retail, or if a family member has a Tesla, they pay full retail price. There are no discounts. He doesn't give Teslas away. It's a full price payment. And I thought, if I wasn't a private banking strategist and didn't understand these concepts, I would think, that's strange. What does it cost him to drive a Tesla without paying for it? What does it cost him to give his kids Teslas and his friends or family Teslas? It doesn't make any sense. Is he that greedy? He's worth like $300 billion. What's a Tesla cost to him? So that's a great question that people often get wrong. But there's a key secret in what we see Elon Musk supposedly doing. What's that secret?
Well, Seth, I believe in the same thing. The owners are free to do whatever they want. You mentioned earlier, strategic location for a retail shop is critical. The way it looks, you never can get a first appearance over again. So you've hit upon the absolute key point of businesses being successful or not. And I think in this first part of these podcasts, we're going to lay these questions out. I think in the second podcast, we'll go in and show you the impact on either side with those questions so that people can really start to gain a little momentum as to why a grocery store can either be successful or not.
Did that story feel like it was about you? Do you feel like you are generating a lot of revenue but are not moving forward as fast as you would like? Do you feel you should be making more progress toward your financial goals? Do you feel stuck? Let us help you get unstuck. Are you ready to take action and get your own private bank? Please visit us at www.privatebankingstrategies.com.
And I'm sure, at least in my experience in my life, I've been in both types of grocery stores. I've been in grocery stores that I wouldn't want to go back. They just don't feel good. Others, man, that's the place to be. Things are happening there. So, depending on what you're after, a lot of times you can find it in a grocery store. So I think to also continue with Elon Musk and a grocery store owner, how he feels about the business and as they understand the impact of their choices makes all the difference in the world. Everything else being equal. You've got two side by side equally. One will succeed far better than the other one if they stay independent and make separate choices. Okay, one will be better at making more profitable choices. The other one might be more into discounting or whatever else. So I think that's an important issue. Another issue is the family members. Everyone should understand the purpose and the value of a grocery store. So in Nelson's book, he says to tell all family related members in your extended family that are local, they have to shop at your grocery store. And they need to understand that they're going to pay full retail price. They don't even get to use coupon. Now that sounds pretty restrictive, doesn't it? In order for me and you to actually answer which road do we go down, which one's more profitable, there's another question to be asked, Seth. What about theft in a grocery store? The impact of even a can of peas being stolen. What is that impact? What does it take to recover from that? I was just blown away when I first read about it. I thought, oh gosh, that can't be true. But then when Nelson explained that to me in person, I got it. I understood. Holy cow. I've been going about this. I've been thinking about this all wrong. That's not the way to make money. So theft in retail is a huge concern. How the population is today, they won't even investigate a crime for theft. They don't even do that anymore. I think especially in your neck of the woods down in California. Here they still will do that, but theft is so common now, it's just part of the business. Okay, but the bottom line is what is affected. Folks, the reason we're saying this, I want to go back to our private banking. Every single penny counts in banking, right? It counts in banking. They do not even let dollars sit in their bank overnight. It's critical that money always flows. There's no value in money unless it's in motion, unless it's being traded. Okay. In grocery stores, if they're not sold, stuff rots. Stuff goes out of date and they have to destroy it. Back in the early days when I guess people were more sane and we didn't have to be bothered with too many government controls, when things got out of date or a little bit overripe, the more needy people could come in and get that food before they threw it away. And that helped their lives out a lot. We're talking about running an operation, having our family involved, and trying to make the store as profitable as possible. So the answer to that store question is whether we take the food or the merchandise out of the front through the cash register or the back is the difference between success and failure. And here is why. If we were to take it out the back, then we force all of our customers to subsidize that loss of merchandise that should have gone through the cash register. That's critical, and we'll tell you that on the next one. But we force, like I said, people to have to make that difference up. So our prices have to be up a little bit, and in other words, we will never ever see the amount of profit we could have seen in the store without theft. Do you think if it's my wife and she goes into shops and goes out the back door, do you think the employees won't see her do that? They're going to see her, and there's a feeling in our brain called entitlement. Oh, she can do that. I can do that too. And they're going to sneak some merchandise out the back. And now we've got more theft going on, and it's a never-ending game. Hey, my son comes in, why don't you just pay wholesale, this, that, and the other? And before you know it, ends aren't being met. The money's not coming in. And what are the statistics, Seth, of successful business, of 10 business startups? How many of those are in existence 5 years and 10 years?
The majority are not. The majority fail, correct? Is that right?
With 10 startups, and it's still true today, and it's been true my whole career. And people don't understand this because they think they know, they think they've got it right. But here's the problem we're trying to solve to make sure it's successful. 5 businesses are gone in the first 5 years, okay? And the main culprit is theft and unprepared financially what the initial commitment might be. But they're not as profitable as they should be because of other problems. Just stealing one item forces so much more that the other clients have to subsidize. But the sad part is, over the next 5 years, 4 fail. 9 out of 10 new startups fail. Now, if you're like me, I go, holy cow, wow, you mean I only have to start 10 businesses and one will succeed? Most people are going to say, I'm not going to do it because my chances of success are limited. And it's all how we look at it. We have to understand, we have to have the right interpretation of all the information before us, and we have to work the system correctly.
Just to drive home the point, the question was, do you and your family take your groceries out the back door, or do you pay full retail at the front register? And the answer is you pay full retail at the front register. And the reason is there's a small margin on the product inventory. And if you steal the peas, so to speak, out the back door, you've got to sell numerous volumes of that can of peas just to make up for the one loss. And that's why theft is such a important problem. It's the same thing with private banking strategies and being your own private banker. If you use the assets in your bank and go out the back door and don't replace them and don't have them purposed for the right targets, then you will ultimately fail. Is that a good connection?
It is. I don't understand why people are so adverse to paying full price. Seth, if it's full price, that means the owner's going to make the maximum amount of profit, right? Why do they think in their mind then it's going to cost them more? It will cost them less because who's going to end up with that money? So there's a lot to learn in just this little grocery store story, folks. We're going to get into that can of peas and we're going to analyze why that's here next time.
Yeah, absolutely critical that people understand this conceptually, and then we'll get into more of the mechanics in the next series. These type of issues really are light bulb moments for people. And when someone gets it and they implement the concepts and the strategies, it makes all the difference. And folks, we told you if you stick through to the end, we're going to drop another nugget. Vance and I have written a book called What the Banks Don't Want You to Know. And that book drops numerous nuggets. And we like to call it a red pill book because it's like Neo in the Matrix, who takes the red pill and his whole reality is altered and he understands a different dimension. Well, it's the same thing. There's all sorts of things going on in culture and finances that people have been conditioned and programmed to believe are right, which aren't. And Vance and I put our finger on some of those issues, including the power of compounding interest and how to utilize that. And we also shine the light on various government controls and banking brainwashing that has infected American thought and culture that are absolutely not in your best interest. And so we share tools and ways to be able to take the banking equation back in your own life and implement private banking strategies. And you can find that book on our website at privatebankingstrategies.com. privatebankingstrategies.com, and there'll be a pop-up there where you can put your name and email in, and in exchange for your email, we'll drop that book for you. And it comes in a PDF or an audio file if you want to listen to it on the go. And more importantly, those emails that we will send you will be of our upcoming podcast, and they'll provide a link that if the content resonates with you, if the book resonates with you, and you're like, I want to dig deeper into this, I want to start implementing private banking, you can schedule an exploratory call with Vance. And the link to his calendar is in those emails, so it's important that you receive the emails. And in the exploratory call, he'll start to work through the process. And ultimately, there'll be consecutive calls that end with an 8-year roadmap where you actually take the strategies on a test drive. You plug in your own financial numbers and your own economics for your personal family and determine how it will work for you, how private banking strategies will work for you in a wealth increase and a wealth preservation over an 8-year plan. And it's actually an 8-year roadmap that you create, Vance, that shows people step by step what debt to pay and how to pay what and in what proportions to maximize and increase their wealth. It's a brilliant tool, and we offer that all to you for free, folks. There's no cost to you. We provide that completely free, and just excited to do it for folks. Vance, what would you add to that?
I just think people should find out. We're all on a road of education and experience in life. And this is one that was purposefully left out of our education. It's how money works, how money grows, how you use it correctly and not waste it. So go down this road, find out if it's for you. The test drive will let you know right up front whether it's going to better your life or not.
Well, folks, we're glad you joined us. We hope you come back for the next episode where we're going to dig in deeper. Thanks so much, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Bye-bye.
Did that story feel like it was about you? Do you feel you should be making more progress toward your financial goals? Do you feel stuck? Let us help you get unstuck. Are you ready to take action and get your own private bank? Please visit us at www.privatebankingstrategies.com.
Thank you for listening to the Private Banking Strategies Podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available.